Welcome back to Cask and Point. Today is going to be a great day because we're going to compare two absolutely incredible wheated bourbons. So on the left here, in glass number 1, we have good old William Larue Weller. You all know William Larue Weller. You all love William Larue Weller. I love William Larue Weller. This is part of the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection of the Buffalo Trace Distillery. It is a 12-year cask strength wheated bourbon, one of the oldest on the market, one of the highest proof on the market, and it's picked out of the absolute best barrels of whiskey that the distillery is making, the rest of which are going into your Weller products, your Weller 107s and full proofs and stuff like that, which are already very popular, highly allocated products. But William Larue Weller is truly the cream of the crop, and there's a reason why this bottle with a $125 MSRP has a $1,200 secondary. Even as secondary continues to plummet on a lot of these products, William Larue Weller is still in the 4 digits and is likely to stay there for at least another few months, maybe even another few years, maybe even for a very long time. Only time will tell. So we have the king, we have the old guy, we have the guy that's been around since 2000 that everybody knows and loves. But on the right, we have the newcomer. We have rare character Brook Hill Doom. So rare character, I've done many reviews on them already. They're an NDP non-distilling producer where they source all of their whiskeys from MGP, from Heaven Hill, from all these amazing places, and they put them mostly into their single barrel series. So I've done a few reviews already on KOA, on TKO, on all these other amazing bottles. Definitely go check those all out. But the best barrels that they get, the ones that are not worth just throwing into a single barrel series and charging $100 for, they'll put it under Brook Hill and they'll charge $200 or $300 or even $600 for. And so I've done a review already on some of the Brook Hills. They're definitely far and above pretty much every single barrel series, except for some of the particularly best bottles of those single barrel series. For example, I certainly really like how this bottle of KOA stacked up against some Brook Hills, but that's all to say, even Brook Hill is not the same. Even the worst Brook Hills versus the best Brook Hills, there's such a variation there, and many believe that the best Brook Hills are really some of the best whiskey out there. So today we're going to find out. We have Brook Hill Doom. We don't know the source on this, but this is an 8-year hazmat wheated bourbon, 140.18 proof, and interestingly enough, its secondary is actually right around William Larue Weller. It's right about $1.2 thousand. I'm not going to say how much I paid for this bottle, but I'm just going to say it's around there. I did not get this cheap, but I've been so excited about Rare Character and Brook Hill. Really excited to try this here with you guys. And so we're going to do a little bit of an opening here on the Brook Hill Doom, and we're going to see just how it compares to William Larue Weller. So let's get the cap off here. Let's see. Really stuck up in there. Wow. All right, let's hear the cork pop. Wow, that was awesome. Let's see. Now, I know what many of you are thinking, that this is a fresh pour of Doom, and so I actually will give these about 20 minutes to sit, and then we're going to come back together, but just on the color, it is definitely darker than William Larue Weller, and 8-year higher proof by about 15 proof. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'll catch you all in 20 minutes. That was the longest 20 minutes of my life. Let's get right into this. So we're going to start with the good old William Larue Weller here. I'll say on the nose, obviously some amazing wheated notes here. Vanilla, caramel corn, rich oak, really rich berry on this. Really like a nice toasted oak as well, and marshmallow. William Larue Weller is really good, and I will say that I've tried about 4 or 5 of the recent years, and they're very, very consistent. Probably the most consistent of the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection. But man, that is really good. Let's try it. Yeah, that's going to be hard to beat. You're looking at some nice, really nice caramel sweetness at the forefront, and then really easing into a nice red sherry, nice really dark berry, like blackberry, blueberry, raspberry on this one. Really nice toasted oak, marshmallow, cinnamon, nutmeg on this. That's delicious. I mean, that's just delicious. William Larue Weller is typically rating in the high 8s for me. 8.7 to 8.8, depending on the year. And yeah, this is as good. Now, this is a sample from 2020. I'm actually not sure exactly which year this bottle is from. 124.7 proof, I think that's 2023, but yeah, I wanted to compare it against 2020 since I had a sample laying around, and I've just tried a lot of the 2023 and 24 and 22 and stuff like that. Haven't tried 2020 though, but it's as good as everything else, and it's very, very similar. And that is just so, so good here. There's a nice punch on that. There's a nice heat on that. There's a nice rich oak on that. Nice fruit. Nice, really nice vanilla and caramel corn. Those are the weeded notes to me that really stand out, that are really, really nice. You guys knew William Larue Weller was going to be great. That's an 8.8 right there. That's a great standard for an 8.8. I think that's a great standard for Doom here. Now, this is obviously a single barrel, and single barrels are tougher to compare with blended products because the blended products are giving you so many different elements from so many different barrels that a lot of people can pick out particular things that they really enjoy. Whereas this single barrel, this is going to really feature the notes of one particular barrel, and it's hazmat, so it's really going to feature it. But let's take a quick sip of water here. Let's get into Doom. Now, I will note, this is actually technically DXXM, Doom DXXM. So maybe it's Doom, or Dixum, Doom, Dixum. I'm not really sure. Apparently, Pablo and people were actually asked why some of the Brook Hill hazmats have the XX on it, and they just said they like it and they thought it was cool. So, I don't know, but they call it Doom. I'll call it Doom here. So I will say, just beginning by the color, you're looking at pretty much like a garnet, like almost like a wine-looking bourbon here. I mean, that's really remarkable. And the William Larue Weller, in comparison, is actually really light. It's definitely just like your typical yellow, a little bit of orange on this one, really not too dark at all. Whereas the Doom, 4 years younger, is just really, really rich in the coloring here. Wow. Okay, we are in for a treat. Definitely coming out with a little bit more heat here. Tons of cherry, tons of vanilla, tons of caramel corn. Definitely getting a similar berry note on this, like really rich blackberry, like a cooked blackberry on this. Wow, that's hot, and there's a lot going on there. I think in comparison to the William Larue Weller, this is a little bit softer. Honestly, smells slightly more refined. Like the oak there is really well balanced with those fruity flavors, with those kind of caramel corn, vanilla, weeded flavors here. Whereas here on the Doom, it's punching from all cylinders. You're getting a lot more fruit, but it's really punchy fruit. The oak is definitely slightly less refined. Definitely smells slightly younger, I will say. And it is 4 years younger. Let's try it. Interesting. Okay. That's punching from a lot of cylinders. There's a lot going on there. So it begins with a nice fruit on here, nice dark berries, and then it kind of eases into that vanilla, that caramel. The finish is also going to be around medium to long length here. Not as long as I was expecting. I was expecting really for this to sit for a long while. And that's really interesting. Now, I will note, while this bottle is $1,200 on secondary markets, its MSRP is like $250, $200. So, while a lot of people may really not like the fact that Rare Character Secondary is just absolutely skyrocketing on a lot of these bottles, its MSRP isn't that bad. And I will say, just to get it out there, MSRP in this bottle, I'd buy 10. And then I buy the other 10. There are only 60 bottles in this barrel, so I'd really try to find out how many of those are still sealed, and I'd buy them all at MSRP. But let's really get into this, because I know you guys are all curious if this is worth its secondary, and if it's actually beating William Larue Weller. Yeah, as this develops, getting some black currant on this. Really almost like a wine-forward nose with that kind of rich fruitiness on it. Definitely some vanilla, definitely some caramel corn. I will say probably slightly less than the William Larue Weller. And this is definitely featuring a lot more of that vanilla and sweet corn, kind of wheat-forward notes here. This Doom. Now, we suspect that this is a wheated bourbon. Its barrel code is W341. We don't know for certain, and rumors have said many things about the exact same Brook Hills before. Some people think the exact same one can be Barton, Heaven Hill, and MGP all at once. So we don't actually know what this is, but we're almost positive it's wheated. And I will say, the wheat influence on here, definitely a little bit less strong. And really what I'm curious here is if this is beating Duro, if this is beating William Larue Weller. Duro, I did rate an 8.9, and I did say that it was better than William Larue Weller. But I didn't side-by-side it, and I may have to bring that back at some point if I could get my hands on another sample and side-by-side it. You're looking at a richer, fruity flavor profile on this. Definitely that black currant, the cooked blackberries. I think this is really, over time, getting a lot more into that caramel, that vanilla, the kind of more innocent flavor notes almost. Whereas this is really giving you that dark fruit, really that nice red fruit, black fruit on here. And the oak presence is definitely there, and it's definitely strong, but it's just one element. It's one piece of the pie. It definitely doesn't smell too oaky. There's definitely some vanilla on here. But honestly, you're looking at like a deeper flavor profile on this of just darker fruits, and they're definitely punching much harder. Let's take our second sip here of Doom. Wow. Wow. That's good whiskey. That's great whiskey. I mean, that's the kind of whiskey that you have, and no matter what kinds of trials and tribulations are going on in your life, you try some of that good whiskey, and man, it keeps you going. That is just so good. There's so much going on that. It's punching hot. It's definitely some really deep red fruit on here. It's definitely really going to show you that it is a hazmat whiskey, and it's drinking like one. I will say, it is definitely drinking slightly younger, and it's noticeable. It's noticeable that this is not a 12-year whiskey, a 15-year whiskey. This is an 8-year whiskey, and it's drinking like it's an 8-year whiskey. I mean, man, but that nose. I will say, I think it beats William Larue Weller on the nose. I think the nose in William Larue Weller is a little bit more simple. I think it's more straightforward. I think pretty much any wheated bourbon is going to give you a kind of similar vibe of your caramel and your sweet corn and those kinds of things. And if you really get into that rich oak and you really get into the fruit here, it is nice. And that's what's going to make it a little bit more unique. But I do think this Doom here, it's richer. It's richer. There's more fruit on there. There's more dark berries on there. There's less oak. And the oak, I will say there is a slight tannin on that oak. It's a little bit tannic here. All right, let's take this final sip. We got to give it a rating. We got to see if it's truly better than William Larue. It's beating it on the nose. That's what I'll say so far. Let's get into this. It drinks younger. Definitely drinks younger. Definitely over time, it's that tannic oak is increasing a little bit. We're looking at high 8s here. Honestly, the weird part is, I don't know if it's better than Duro at 8.9, because Duro actually didn't have as much tannic oak from what I remember. Oh, it's okay. It's a little bit better. But man, I don't think this is going to be a 9. I don't think I can give it a 9 here. It's definitely neck and neck with William Larue, but it's hotter. You're looking at a higher proof here. Now, I will note, this was obviously the neck pour, and I do suspect that a bottle like this at this quality is going to change radically over the course of its life. And so I do think it is clearly giving me elements of a whiskey that aren't super opened up. I think the kind of oak structure on here is really, can really see that a little bit more air on it can really take this a long way. And I think as this opens up and gets that really into the darker fruit, if we can get a lot more of that vanilla, that caramel, these kinds of elements, we'll see just how much this Brook Hill Doom does develop over time. And I mean, we have the bottle, so we're going to have some fun with it over the next few months and maybe even a year or two. But it's really good. It's really, really good. But I will go back to William Larue Weller. I'm not going to go out and say that it's better just yet. I don't mean to string you along too much, but the claim that a Brook Hill is better than William Larue Weller is a big claim. And I will say it should indicate something, the fact that I'm not so open about saying that it's that much better just yet. It is really an interesting competition here. Let's take this final sip of good old William Larue Weller from 2020. Interesting. Okay. Wheated, vanilla, caramel corn, some nice rich oak. Definitely a little bit of berries on there, but not much. That's William Larue Weller. Brook Hill Doom is dark fruit, black currant, cooked blackberry. Really, really deep, fruity flavors that I really am not getting on that much else. I will say the oak structure on it definitely needs to open up slightly. I think the oak on William Larue Weller is better. I think the oak on Doom clearly a little bit younger. But I think as an overall pour, I think the nose is better here on Brook Hill Doom. And I think the palate and finish are better too. And I think it's very close. And I will say, I mean, you're looking at an 8.8 here on the William Larue Weller, but this Brook Hill Doom, I think right now it's an 8.9. I'm actually going to rate it the exact same that I gave Duro, but I really think I need to compare it to Duro before I can really say that it's better or worse. And also the Brook Hill Duro that we had really had opened up, and it had shown that the fruitiness on Duro, which I keep comparing because that is a 139 proof wheated bourbon that should be a sister barrel to Doom, but we're not totally certain that's even the case. That one clearly had an opened up, rich red fruit to it that I really absolutely loved in a way that I think the fruitiness here on Doom is more complex, is more intricate, is darker, and I think the oak needs to open up a little bit. But I think we're looking at a bottle that's better than William Larue Weller. I think it's better. I think you're looking at a bottle that's a $1,200 secondary, and look, I know that's way too much money for a lot of people to spend, and I get it, and I totally think that if you're looking at just having one of these bottles on your shelf, I would tend to go for the William Larue Weller just because I think there's so much history behind it. I think when you bring it to guests, they'll know what this is in a way that they won't know the Brook Hill. But Rare Characters definitely held its own here. I think an 8.9 is a very fair rating. It's an incredible rating. It's tied for the highest rating that I've ever given here on the channel. I'm going to revisit this one day soon. I'm going to give this a few weeks to open up, and then we will be revisiting it here on the channel, and we're going to see if it's that much better, or if it's possibly even worse. Hazmats have gotten worse after the neck pour because they kind of mellow out a little and you just get less flavor on them. But anyways, to conclude, it's going to win. It's going to win. It's a great bottle. It's a great bottle of whiskey. I wish it wasn't $1,200 in secondary. I think if it was $800, if $700, it'd really have a lot more attention. I think at $1,200, that's just a lot of money to spend on one bottle of whiskey for anything. But it held its own against William Weller. You're looking at a fancier, more refined, nicer pour here with those kind of sweeter, like vanilla, maple kind of notes here. But if you want the fruit bomb, if you want the absolute fruit with a little bit of wheated notes, and frankly, honestly, if you told me that Brook Hill Doom wasn't wheated, I wouldn't be absolutely stunned. And that could just be on that first neck pour here, just not giving me a ton of those wheated related flavors here. But it's the best Brook Hill I've had so far. It's very good. I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you had some fun. This was an awesome video. I'm really so grateful that I've been able to do these kinds of videos with you guys. Hope to do more in the future. I can assure you that I'm not going to get too many bottles like this in my life where I'm going to get to crack them and open them up with you guys. So when I do get that opportunity, I always want to share it. Hope you all enjoyed it. Hope you all have a lovely rest of your day. Catch you all in the next one.